I wanted to answer a couple of your questions that you had sent through, and if I had to kind of group them together, there were sort of two questions. But the first one was, a lot of you asked around motivation and training, or lack of motivation. And I'll say up front, almost all the athletes that I work with have battled with this. They are not motivated, they don't necessarily want to train, or they train but they're finding it difficult to kind of push themselves through. And so it's perfectly normal, first of all. And a lot of the reasons that we train is to compete, of course. You know, and I'm also super competitive. Like, you want to be able to compete. You have those goals. You have the tournaments. You have the races coming up. And so you know, okay, next week or next month, this is so I can aim towards it. And this always gives us a sense of progress towards something, which makes us happier. And it's, yeah, it's kind of how we work as people, particularly as athletes. So with those goals taken away, of course it's hard to then actually get up and do training for what reason, really? So I think we have to change a little bit. We spoke about perspective in another video, our perspective around exercise, and to focus a little bit less on return to play and return to competition, and focus more on simply the enjoyment of the movement itself, of being active yourself. And I can only speak for myself. One of the reasons that I enjoy being active is I enjoy the physicality of it. I enjoy the feeling of being strong in my body. I enjoy the feeling of being fit and being healthy. So when I stopped swimming, so, you know, I was a competitive swimmer for many, many years, and it took me a little while to wrap my head around this, but it went from being super competitive to like, why am I exercising now? And I had to find these reasons of to why am I even going to get back in the water or try something else, or, you know, when there's no goal or no competition. And so I know for myself, it took me a while to figure out, why would I even do this? And for me, it came down to, as I said, I love moving my body and being active. Also for me, it's a form of almost, not quite meditation, but when I swim it certainly is, but just a way of being able to kind of clear my head. And I think for a lot of people it's like that. Just when you're stressed out and so much going on, you can spend that hour or 45 minutes, really it's just doing something for you. You don't have to talk to anyone, don't have to think about anything else. You can just clear your mind and focus on the activity at hand. And so my encouragement to you during this time is, why train? You're certainly probably not going to be able to train at the same level of intensity as you did if there was a tournament coming up next weekend or in 3 weeks' time. Training requires a huge amount of mental and emotional energy, and so when there's that immediate goal, it's difficult to push through that pain barrier. But you can absolutely focus on the enjoyment of actually playing. And I think for a lot of us, if we think back when we were younger, that's why we did it. That's why we played sport, simply because we loved it and we enjoyed it and we liked that feeling of being active. So to focus a little bit more on why train, well, because I actually enjoy training and enjoy the feeling that it gives me. And I'm not saying it's not difficult, guys, to be able to not have that goal. And with something else that I wanted to talk about, it can almost be like a grieving process, because any loss is, we grieve when you lost. So especially those of you that, you know, this is, say, being your last year, or to be in your last couple of races or matches, and now that's taken away from you, it's incredibly hard. Sometimes we just don't believe it. Sometimes we feel very sad. Sometimes we can feel super angry about it, also in denial about it. So there's all sorts of feelings that come through it, or come with it. And again, all perfectly normal feelings. So not taking away from that disappointment, but it's incredibly important that those of you that are active continue to be active, because there's also all sorts of biochemical changes that happen in our body when we are active. And so when we just stop, it also causes some problems. So we need to kind of keep going. We need to keep moving our bodies. So if you can, focus less on the return to play and maybe what you've lost, and to focus more on what exercise actually gives you. The other thing people are obviously concerned about is the future, the uncertainty of the future. And if I can give you one piece of advice and one mental skill about how to manage uncertainty, is to really focus on controlling your controllables. And it sounds so simple, but it actually can be difficult to do. And if you, little exercise, you can write down a couple of things that you feel are uncontrollable. What can you not control? Now, uncontrollable means it doesn't matter what I do, I can't 100% change this thing, like the weather. I could do rain dance or whatever, but it doesn't even make it rain. So the weather is a complete uncontrollable. And what are the things though that I can control? And controllable doesn't mean easy to do or that I can do it now, but it means with some skill or effort or knowledge, if I do this, I can change it. So even some of the mental skills, like controlling some of what we think, it's not easy, but we absolutely can control that if we learn how to do it. So, write down some of the things that you feel in life at the moment that are actually uncontrollable. And things like COVID-19, it's uncontrollable. When are we going to go down to level 2 or level 1, or what's going to happen with travel, or what's going to happen with sport? We just don't know. And you don't have to like those uncontrollables. There's just nothing you can do about them. And you rather want to spend your time and energy focusing on those things that you can do and that you can control. And we have to just make peace a little bit with those uncontrollables. But there's a lot of things, and mainly it's ourselves that we can control. Our perspective, how we're thinking, our breathing, managing our emotions, all of those things we've spoken about are 100% controllable. Not easy, but controllable. And when we focus on doing that, we regain a little bit of sense of control, because I think that's what's happened during this time. This just kind of has made everybody feel like their lives are a little bit out of control and all this uncertainty. So we have to regain this sense of control. And how we do that, I'll repeat it, you focus on controlling the things that you can, but just make sure you're not trying to control an uncontrollable, which very often happens. So focus on controlling the things that you can control.